quietly and follow along. At any point, click the pause button to catch up or take a break. Okay, my artists, today we're going to be doing crayon collages with a little bit of a twist. On my collage, I have some yarn. This is optional to show the trail of my crayon scribbling, so to say. My first example is purple and yellow. These are complementary colors, which means they kind of complement each other. They look really good with next to one another because they're across from each other on the color wheel. With you today, I'll be doing a blue crayon with orange paper because those are complementary colors and they look awesome. So I cut a piece of 9x12 construction paper in half for our crayons, and I have two different shades of blue, one lighter, one darker. Okay, we're going to begin with the lighter color, so put the dark one aside, and you're going to want to use a pencil. Okay, I'll be using a marker so you can see our drawing lines nice and clearly. The first thing you're going to want to do is we're going to draw the tip of our crayon. So from the right side, right here, go a little bit in, about that much, and draw a nice diagonal line down. Then on the left, go a little bit in, about an inch, diagonal line down. These are going to be about the same distance. And then you're going to connect those lines out to the right of your paper and out to the left. Very good. Our last line is we're going to draw a line straight across. Okay, you can make this a little thicker if you want. That's going to be the tip of our crayon. The next step is we are going to cut them out. And I'm going to flip mine over so that way my lines are a bit more hidden. For this next part of our crayon, we're going to draw a line. This is going to be the bottom, like the little booty of our crayon. Okay, so this is going to come a line just across. Now save this big piece because we're going to need it. And you can cut that part off. There you go. So this is our top and bottom of our crayon. This is our middle. For our middle, we're going to make the best oval we can. Now an oval is like a long circle. So get your pencil ready and you can draw with me. Nice big curve and around. Get it as best as you can. Mine's not perfect. When you have your oval, you can cut it out. Okay. I'm just going to touch up some of my edges here. There is my oval, and I'm going to recycle my scraps to my scrap bin. So here's what we have of our crayon so far. We need to bring in this piece, and we're going to glue our crayon pieces on this. Okay? So I'm using a glue stick. But I like to start out with my crayon right here. Now, technically, the paper of the crayon is over the top, so I'm going to glue this to the bottom. Just like this, little glue. I'm going to lay my dark color over the top. That way it looks like my crayon is underneath. Just need a little bit like that. Okay, same thing with the top part of our crayon. Just need a little glue right along the edge here. I'm just going to lay it over the top, just like the paper on the crayon wax goes over the top. This gives your collage dimension. When things are coming towards you or farther away from you, it makes it look a little bit more real. Okay, and lastly, we're going to put our oval right in the center. Okay, so a nice big oval, going around it with my glue stick. I've got a couple laps just to ensure that I have enough glue. One down the middle, and line her up where you want her. Now leaving some space up here, boys and girls, and some down there because we got more designs to do. When you got it in the spot you want, give her a nice little massage and make sure it's on there nice and good. Okay, we got other parts of our crayon design. The next part is our wiggly lines. I have a black marker, and up on the top here, I'm going to begin with a wiggly line from the top to the bottom. And I'm gonna go right beside that wiggly line again. I would like to make it a little thicker. Next to that wiggly line, I'm gonna leave some space and draw a wiggly line that is parallel. Parallel lines are lines that never cross each other. In fact, they are just like right next to one another, always. Doing the same exact pattern or movement. So here's my two parallel lines creating a nice squiggly design on my crayon wrapper. And I'm gonna flip this over. And the same thing towards the bottom. Wiggly line. Doesn't have to be perfect. And I'm gonna go again right next to it to thicken it up because I would like a thicker line. Then I'm gonna leave a little space and do another thick parallel line. We just talked about parallel lines, so don't you forget what that is. Okay, there we go. There, I'm gonna even touch up some of my lines so they're nice and perfect. There we go. What I do to add a little bit more dimension is I take my black marker and I go all the way around that oval. Gives it a little more pop. Okay. I'm just literally tracing around it. Pretty not too bad. There we go. Making sure I got nice flat lines. There we go. Okay, the next part of our project is we're going to bring our base paper over, and here's my base paper. Now you can put your crayon however you want. Maybe you want it going across the paper. That might be a little silly because we want to utilize most of the paper. You can have it going on a diagonal, okay? And you can even have it going off the page a little bit to make it look like it's popping out of the space, okay? Then we can do something called emphasis. Emphasis is when we have our viewer looking at our artwork and it just really brings more attention to some of the movement and the coolness, in this case, our crazy, how our crayon can move in a space. I'm gonna put mine right towards the bottom here, okay? So on an angle, and then I'll be able to decorate the rest of my space. So I'm gonna flip her over, and I'm gonna add a lot of glue with my glue stick around all my edges, making sure they're staying nice and flat, because we did some layering here. A couple streaks down the middle, secure the middles nice and down. Okay, now just a reminder, if you're hanging off the edge, you don't need some glue over there because it's going to be off the edge. I'm going to put mine right up here. When you got it where you want, a nice press. Middle to out will ensure that your crayon is more flat. There we go, give it a couple times. Alrighty, now we're going to go into some shading. We want our crayon, right now it just looks like it's floating in mid-space. And you know, when you go outside and you have a shadow from the sun and the light reflecting on it. So we're going to create a shadow. I have a black crayon, but a gray crayon will be just fine. And we're going to go right across, sort of underneath our crayon. And I'm just going really lightly, boys and girls, really lightly. I'm just kind of going to go around my crayon, give it a little bit over here. Now, you have to think about this, so be careful with what you're doing. There is not going to be really a shadow coming up here on this side too much, okay? Just a little bit. There's going to be more of a shadow this way because the crayon is tilting and blocking the sun from that way, okay? So I'm just going to kind of fade this out. Oh yeah, check out my cool artist technique here. Now I want to really put more emphasis on the shadow. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go a little darker and something called the horizon line. The horizon line is just like the lines that kind of divide the base of our project to the top. Similar to when we look outside, we have the ground as our horizon and then the sky. Okay? I'm going to do a little bit over here as well. So if we want to, we could add some yarn to show the scribble of our crayon working and doing its thing that it does in the art room. And the way we're going to do that is I'm going to grab a glue bottle. Okay. Now with the glue bottle, the reason we use a glue bottle is it helps the yarn stick more to the paper. It has a little bit more dimensions, a little more wet, and the fibers absorb the glue. So I'm going to turn my paper around. So much easier for me that I'm not reaching over that gorgeous crayon I just created. I untwisted my glue bottle and I'm going to give it just a little squeeze. There's some glue that came out. It's ready to go. So from the tip of my crayon, I am going to squeeze and move it, creating a nice channel of art. And this is the fun part. I'm going to scribble, moving nice and slowly with my yarn or my glue. My yarn is going to go over the top of this. Okay. The goal is to get a nice even stroke of yarn or glue as possible. Yarn's coming up next. Here's my yarn ball, and I'm going to unravel it just a little bit. Now, you gotta be aware of what you do, and you can't be crossing your yarn ball and being like a kitty and having it play all over your glue. That's just gonna be silly. You're gonna make a mess. Line up the end of your yarn with the tip of your crayon and lay it in the glue. Give it a little tap, 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 tap in the glue, and my other hand is just kind of guiding the yarn into the glue, and I'm lifting it up and over and just laying it, like I said, in the glue. Okay, coming up and around. There we go. And I'm following my path. This takes some practice. There we go. And doing a little bit at a time. And then I always like to go back and just kind of tap it, make sure it's in place. You'll know it's in place when the yarn is sitting and pretty submerged in the glue. Okay, I'm going to finish up adding the rest of my yarn. I'll speed up the video so you can see it all happen in the action. All right, here. Okay, we've reached the end of our yarn and our glue, and I'm just going back and giving it a little tap right in place where I want it, making sure that it's very secure and it's going to dry. Good, and then I'm just going to simply snip my yarn. Make sure your yarn is all rolled up nicely. Okay, and there is our crazy crayon with the yarn. Here's one I just did a little while ago and I just showed you. So you can see they're all a little different, and you can turn your artwork all different ways. So thank you so much for joining me in collaging crayons. Have a good day. Bye, art.